Error.
How's it going, Kane?
Pretty good. What's going on?
Man, I can't believe this is the season 5 finale of the film reel.
Absolutely.
This is really cool. I mean,
Nuts.
we got to start writing down ideas for season 6.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure. Absolutely.
Come on, this
Let's
is
get to
crazy.
it.
Well, actually, real quick before we do that, I was kind of hoping my agent's going to be coming in. Is it okay if he just meets in here real quick?
I guess.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right, come on in. Alrighty. Wait a minute. Eli Grimes, director and executive producer of the film reel. I didn't know you were my agent.
Listen, it's news to me as well, but I've got some bigger news in this envelope for you guys.
Oh, okay. We'll see what it is. Okay.
Give it a go.
What's
Are you serious?
What's it say? What's it
Is this
say?
real?
I'm as serious as a heart attack.
Dude, I'm going to California.
What?
I'm going to dude. Are you serious?
It's
Real?
the absolute real truth.
Oh my gosh, dude, this is amazing.
You're going to California.
Whoa, what's wrong? I'm going to California.
What about me? What the heck?
Not you. You're not going. It's just me. I'm going to California, dude. This is amazing.
Yeah.
California.
Film reel to California.
I gotta go pack.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? What? We still got an episode to film here. What the heck? The show, everything. What's going on? What?
Hello and welcome to the film reel. Hello and welcome to the film reel. Hello and welcome to the film reel. Hello and welcome into the film reel. Hello and welcome into the film reel. News Channel 15 presents The Film Reel, the talk show where we discuss everything going on in the world of movies and television with hosts Bryce West and Kane Jones. This is The Film Reel. Hello and welcome into The Film Reel, the talk show where we discuss everything going on in the world of movies and television. I am Bryce West alongside
Kane Jones.
And as you heard the big news, I'm off to California. It's pretty exciting stuff. I'm really excited to move on to this next chapter in my career. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Of course, as you saw earlier, unfortunately, I will not be able to bring Kane with me. So this is the series finale again of the film reel. But we've got an action-packed episode.
We do.
This is we've got a lot to cover. This has the potential to be our longest episode yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just real quick, I wanted to thank a lot of people. It was a lot of people to thank for this, but I just wanted to thank News Channel 15 for giving us the space to do this. Obviously, we were originally students here at Wabash Valley College, and then they graciously allowed us to just keep going with it. And it's been an absolute blast. It's been great experience for Kane and I, and all of the other people who have been able to work on the show. So thank you to Kyle Peach, Scott Allen, and Eli Grimes for allowing us to continue on and doing this. It's been an absolute pleasure. But well, with that being said, I mean, we can't get too sappy. We got a big show to do.
We do.
So we're gonna go ahead and just sort of talk about how the box office has been this year, because it hasn't been doing that great. And honestly, the box office performance has been a pretty major talking point in the past 2 seasons of the show, because we came back after quite a bit after COVID had happened, or was at least in the height.
Right.
And so real quick, we're going to go over what the top 10 films of the year so far are. Obviously, we're in June, so we're only halfway through the year.
Yeah.
But I still think there's a lot to discuss here.
Yeah.
So coming in number 10 was If. We actually talked about this in the most recent episode. So far, it's at number 10 with $141 million, which is really low for a top 10 like this. Pre-COVID, I mean, it was like every movie was $1 billion, which is an impossible, expectation. I think that was 2019. That year was just crazy.
It was.
So obviously we're never. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. But still, like half of the films, just in like the 100 million range, is not something that we've seen in quite a while. At least not to my memory.
Yeah.
And these are worldwide numbers, by the way,
worldwide.
not just domestic. Number 9 is the Garfield movie, 151 million. I think that movie will do fairly decent until Inside Out 2 comes out, because right now it's kind of like the only kids movie out.
Right, exactly.
And once Inside Out 2 comes out,
Yeah.
I think Bye Garfield.
All right.
And then
More than likely.
number 8 is The Beekeeper, an action film starring Jason Statham.
Yep.
I still haven't seen it. I think it's on Prime.
Yes.
So I've been meaning to check it out.
Absolutely.
But that came in at $152 million. Number 7 is Poor the Fall Guy.
Yeah.
Poor the Fall Guy, $159 million worldwide gross. It's probably where it's going to pretty much stay.
Yeah. Right.
I've heard the movie's excellent.
Yeah. Right.
But if it's not Marvel or Star Wars or something else, I mean,
Right.
usually a big franchise, usually new films like that don't really do too well.
No.
Number 6, 100 was I said the dollar amount first.
Right.
Bob Marley, One Love at
Really good, really good.
$179
It's good.
million. You've seen the movie, right?
I did. That was a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Great biopic.
And honestly, I have a feeling that movie didn't really cost too much to make. So
Yeah,
I have a feeling
fairly low budget, sort of,
Yeah,
you
I have
know.
a feeling that 179 million isn't really a horrible place for
No,
that movie to be
not
at.
really.
But for
Pretty
a movie
decent.
like biopics don't usually end up in the top 10 like this,
Right. Yeah.
especially since now we're in summer blockbuster season and like
for sure.
we're in June and there's not
Yeah,
really a
right.
lot going on. So,
Right.
but yeah, Bob Marley at number 6. Number 5, Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. 201, our first
Right.
first two movie over
Yeah.
100 something. It's at $201 million. It's a Ghostbusters film, but honestly, even for a Ghostbusters film,
Yeah.
201 million worldwide seems pretty low.
Yeah, I think so.
To
I
me,
mean, yeah.
so I found that to be pretty interesting. Number 4, this one is fairly recent. Kingdom
Yeah.
of the Planet of the Apes at 341 million. Comparative.
Right.
The movie's doing pretty well. Now, I would venture to guess that the film probably cost like 300 million to make.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's probably still not going to make money.
Yeah.
But
That's pretty low, I think. You know?
yeah, especially since just looking at like the trailers, clearly they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the CGI
Right.
in that one. I mean, it looks gorgeous, but
Right.
I still think even then, I think that might be a little low.
Yeah.
Kung Fu Panda 4 is at number 3. It's at 542 million.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good number.
Yeah. much.
Considering like post-COVID number. Again, I think the days of just everything getting to $1 billion are over,
Yeah,
especially with like
probably.
streaming and stuff like that, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Number 2, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire I was actually a little bit surprised to see this so high. I
Yeah.
think writing off the success of Godzilla -1, an actual good film.
Yeah.
I think that got a lot of people interested in Godzilla again,
Right.
and so I think that's probably why it did so well. Again, another movie that was probably insanely expensive to make,
Right.
but I think it actually did make a
Yeah.
pretty decent. I have a feeling it at least broke even.
Yeah.
And then number 1, it might stay this way with the way things are going, but
Yeah,
number
it's quite
1
possible.
is Doom Part 2 easily,
Yeah.
with $711
It's no
million
contest.
dollars.
Yeah.
An amazing film.
Absolutely,
I mean, we
absolutely.
talked about it here on the show.
Yep.
It's my favorite film of the year, and
Yeah.
it's not even close.
Yeah.
Doom Part 2 was amazing. People went out to the theater to go see it, and here's why. They actually waited a decent amount of time to put it on streaming. And I think that's going to be what we talk about for the rest of this segment here. Is that the Fall
absolutely.
Guy
Yep.
comes out in theaters, and I don't know if this is an exact number, but like 3 weeks later,
Yeah.
you could already just buy it at home.
Yeah, right.
And
Just
so,
watch. Yeah.
we're not giving movies time to breathe, you know,
Right. I see what you're saying.
consumers
Absolutely.
are like, oh, I can just go watch this on Disney Plus,
Right.
or I can just
Yeah.
watch this on Prime Video.
Yeah.
Why should I go out to the theater, with something like The Fall Guy,
Yeah.
which isn't based on a mega ultra property like Dune
Yeah.
or Godzilla or Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah.
I believe it was actually based on something, but it's not as big as those, and
Right.
and I think it was based off of a TV show. But
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying? Like you know,
absolutely.
consumers are just like, I can just wait for this to be available at home, and I don't have to drive out to the theater and take the kids and all that kind of stuff. And that's just really hurting the theater industry.
Oh yeah,
bad.
for sure.
And I don't think it's gonna get better. I think it's just gonna keep going like that until they can't even release movies like Fall Guy in theaters anymore.
Yeah.
You know, Challengers.
Yeah.
Number 18.
Way back.
Furiosa, based on an existing property, didn't make the top 10. Madam Web, I mean, that was just awful.
Well,
but 14.
We don't even need to talk about that one.
You know, Civil War was supposed to be a big release by A24. That's at 12. Mean Girls is at 13. You know, so you know. There's a lot of movies coming out this year, and I think a lot of movies worth seeing. Yeah. But you know, I think it's really hard to convince people whenever it's just like, I can just wait for it to be available on home. Sure. And honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just as guilty with this.
Yeah.
I've been really busy this year, as you can probably tell by the scheduling of our episodes. And so it's been really hard to get out and to just do the show on a regular basis, let alone go out into the theater to actually make time to see these movies. Which is why we had to cut back on the reviews. We just had to kind of like talk about them, you know, based off of trailers, which is definitely not preferred. But again, it's just like I can wait for this to come to me at home. You know, because I'm busy, I can't make it, and so I think convenience is going to be what kills the theater industry, which is really sad. I do think theaters. I do think. I think it's going to happen here soon. I don't know if I can sit here and tell you that movie theaters will exist in 10 years. At least not in the way that they are now. Like I'm sure they'll exist in like big cities as like a niche thing for people to go and do. But like in terms of just like your small town where pretty much most of you all are living in, I don't think that you'll be seeing movie theaters in your area for very much longer. Which is very sad. I think a lot of these movies are made to be seen on these screens.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I mean it is sad to see sort of the dwindling box office numbers, and I don't mean to be all doom and gloom, but I think theaters are in really big trouble.
They are
with the rise of these streaming services and stuff like that. But with that being said, we're going to take a quick break, and after this, I did get the chance to see Furiosa.
Nice.
So we're going to go ahead and talk about Furiosa after this short break.
When life gets boring, music can make us excited. But are your playlists too boring and you desperately need new music? Well, 89.1 The Bash can help. 89.1 The Bash has your new favorite alternative pop, throwback, and rock music that'll get you moving. Can't listen on the radio? Listen to us on our website, bashradio.com, where you'll be able to meet the DJs and see who's providing you with the best music content live. Listen to 89.1 The Bash, today's hit alternative.
Before coming to Senior Enrichment Center, I was so depressed that I couldn't get out of bed. That all changed once I started seeing Danielle, the social worker, and Melanie, the nurse. They have been so kind and they truly care about my health. They have helped me to be able to go out and have shown me the importance of how to deal with my problems in a more constructive way. I think anyone who is experiencing grief, depression, anxiety, or isolation can benefit from this program. The Senior Enrichment Center has changed my life.
All right, welcome back into the film reel. I actually did get the chance to see Furiosa.
Yes.
All right, and you know what? I think you should too. It was actually a really, really fun movie.
It looks awesome.
It's based off of the Mad Max films.
Yep, absolutely.
It takes place 40 years after the destruction of the world. It takes place as a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. So it's in between Mad Max 3 and 4.
Okay.
And it's based off of Furiosa, who was heavily featured in the Mad Max Fury Road film. And fun fact about this movie, this was actually the first Mad Max movie I'd ever seen. I had not seen a single Mad Max movie before I went and saw Furiosa. So I was a little concerned.
Dang.
I was like, I'm not going to know
the
what's really
classic
going
ones
on.
with Mel Gibson? I mean, come on.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this film. There was still, so I will say this because I'm gonna actually assume that most people are probably in the same boat as me and probably haven't seen a lot of the Mad Max films because they aren't usually huge box office performers.
I saw Fury Road. I thought Fury Road was phenomenal.
Yeah, but it still didn't make that much money.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've heard it was fantastic too, but Anyway, but I hadn't really seen any of the films going into this, and I will say that I was a little confused, but not because I haven't seen the other films, because I went and saw it with Ian Lloyd, a former host of the show. We'll actually be seeing him later on today. And he's a big fan of the Mad Max films. Yeah. And so like I was like, I didn't really get it, a lot of the stuff. And he's like, what do you mean? You should have. I mean, it's just like about Furiosa. She doesn't like this guy and she wants to like kill him. It's like, but there is a lot of politics in this film, and there's a lot of politics just in the Mad Max stuff in general that doesn't really get explained all too well in any of the films. Because I will say that I have seen Mad Max 1 and 2 now. Okay. So I have seen some of them now. I'm getting ready to watch 3 and 4. But yeah, it's just some of the politics I didn't really understand. Still don't really understand. There's a lot going on in this film, but it is still a really fun ride. Anya Taylor-Joy is great in the lead role as Furiosa. Chris Hemsworth. Holy cow! Have you seen it?
I have not seen it yet.
He oh my gosh, he is amazing. As the villain. I want him to like rip up his Marvel contract right now and just start doing villain roles. Because holy cow, he is a fantastic villain. I want to see him as a villain in everything now. It was absolutely spectacular. Even though I was a little confused about like the politics and the stuff that was going on in the film, I still really, really enjoyed the film. So if you're into intense action films, it is rated R, so keep that in mind. But if you're into intense action films,
definitely gonna check it out.
Definitely worth checking out, especially since it needs all the help it can get. But yeah, Kane, so you've seen the other Mad Max films.
Yes.
So what are you waiting for? No, I'm kidding. But based off of like all the trailers and stuff like that, and what I've said,
I think it looks sick. Like you said, I mean, Chris Hemsworth is a bad guy. I mean, like you just said, I feel like you can't go wrong there. It just looks great. Continue it, or prequel. So that's interesting. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, prequel to 4, but
So I think, it looks awesome. Like you said.
Yeah. It was really awesome. It encouraged me to go back and watch some of the other films. So I really enjoyed it. But with that being said, we're going to take another quick break. And after this, we got some new Star Wars coming out.
Yeah, we do.
The Star Wars The Acolyte just premiered this past week. And I've seen the first 2 episodes, and we're going to be talking about that after this break.
News Channel 15 on Roku TV. With a Roku-compatible device, News Channel 15 is within your reach. Simply access your Roku TV menu and scroll until you find an Add Channel selection. In the search bar, type Cablecast Screenweave and a green icon should appear. Select this app and choose to add channel to your device's main menu. Once Screenweave has downloaded, open the app and scroll through channels to find News Channel 15. News Channel 15, available on Roku and Apple TV.
Mount Carmel's original, authentic Mexican restaurant, Tequila's, is still the best, with great food and some great specials. Lunch-size margaritas are just $1.99 every Wednesday and Thursday. And check out our student specials, including chicken on the beach, Mexican rice with cheese, nacho fajita chicken, or nachos with beef, all including soda. Not a student? No problem. Check out our daily specials just for you. Great food, great specials with great prices, all from the friendly professional staff you know and trust at Tequila's in Mount Carmel.
Welcome back into the Film Reel season finale, probably real this time. We're going to be talking about Star Wars: The Acolyte, the new Disney Plus original series.
Oh, yeah.
This takes place 100 years before Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which is immediately the greatest thing about the show.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
It is completely separated from the Skywalker saga. Not a Skywalker in sight. Not even, probably not even a Skywalker born, at least not a Jedi Skywalker.
At this time,
And this is a really, really cool show. I'm not going to go super deep into like plot details because immediately, right off the bat, the initial plot synopsis is already kind of misleading to what we actually get here in this show because it is kind of spoilers just right off the bat. But this is just an awesome treat.
It looks sick, dude.
For Star Wars fans. I mean, one thing that I have wanted for years upon years is just to see a live action Star Wars show where we get to see Jedi just being Jedi at their prime, lightsabers all over the place. And that's not really something that we've been able to see since the prequels. Because in the original trilogy, Luke is like the only one. And like then in the sequels, they're gone again, and so
like you said, this is unrelated to this is not a Skywalker in sight.
Yeah.
So I mean, and they're running out of like stories to tell. I mean, and so the fact that
with the Skywalkers,
so it made sense to go, back and do a prequel like this. So I think it's awesome.
I think that was definitely the right move. The action in this show is insane. We got Carrie Ann Moss as a Jedi.
Trinity
and
from the
she
Matrix
literally
herself.
fights exactly like Trinity from the Matrix. It is amazing.
What more can you want?
I
mean, that's
cannot remember, unfortunately, for the life of me, what his name is. But the guy who plays Master Soul, he was from Squid Game. And he plays a Jedi Master in this Soul.
Yes,
he's amazing too.
Yep.
Fun fact: he learned English to play this role.
Whoa. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, and it's insane. I was watching it. I had no idea. I was watching the show. I didn't learn until after I had watched the first 2 episodes that was a thing. And like he had to have like learned English in like months.
Wow.
Or something. And he sounds amazing. He sounds perfectly fluent. It is spectacular. I wish I could learn an English or a language that fast.
Right, same.
So really, really cool. I mean, obviously we got the Yord memes going online. I don't know if you've seen any of those.
I've been trying to stay. I haven't saw it yet, but
there's a character named Yord, and fans are calling themselves the Yord Horde, and I don't know how else to explain it other than that because it's one of those memes where it's just like you just kind of got to see it,
Right, I got you.
But that's a lot of positive traction that's been going on because Star Wars fans are kind of notorious for being just negative about everything. Right. So it's honestly just nice to see some like positive, funny stuff coming out of this series. Overall, I have been in love with these first 2 episodes. I've already seen them twice. I love, oh man, I'm forgetting her name too. She's in the lead role. She plays Osha and May, the actress who plays Osha and May in the show. Really, really great job.
Nice.
In the lead role. I love everybody in the show. There's not a single person I don't love in the show.
Cool cast.
Everybody's really cool, really awesome, really great. Definitely, if you're into Star Wars, definitely watch the show. If you're not into Star Wars, that's okay because this takes place 100 years before anything. So you don't need to know anything.
Perfect.
This is like completely separate from all the movies and all that stuff. So if you're just like wanting to, if you're interested in Star Wars and you've been thinking about getting into Star Wars, this is a really great starting point.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to have watched anything up to this point. Since it's a prequel and a prequel really far in advance. So I recommend it for new Star Wars fans too. It is a really great show. I've been really loving it. And also I've been loving the new Doctor Who season on Disney Plus too. I just had to throw that in there. We're not gonna do a full segment on it, but I've been loving the 15th Doctor. He's really awesome. But with that being said, we're gonna take another quick break, and after this, we're gonna be going over just my top 10 films. And then after that, Kane will have this too. But we'll be right back after this break.
But you need to be mindful that when you're out, maybe doing a little tree pruning or shaping, or kids climbing in the tree, building tree houses, whatever, look up, make sure there's no power lines in or near the area. And even after the storm or after a wind event or something like that, where a limb may be falling down or hanging in the tree, make sure to look and there's no utility lines near that. And if there is, call us. We'll come take care of it. We'll get that down. We'll get things cleared up.
You already know that the First National Bank is your real community bank, but have you met our people? It's the people inside that make us a community bank. We live here, we work here, we're your neighbors and your friends. When you bank with us, your money is reinvested in your community. At the First National Bank, our customers are more than an account number. People are the reason for this community. We're your hometown bank, serving the area since 1906. We are the First National Bank, where our people make the difference. Come see us today. Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC.
Welcome back into the film reel. Right now, we're going to be talking about our top 10 favorite movies. First, we're going to do mine. So starting off at number 10, I've got Army of Darkness. Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
This is the third film in the Evil Dead series. This is a series just notoriously known for, well, not notorious, but known for just being just weird as hell.
Yeah.
You know,
it's wild. It's wild.
And
for sure.
This is the creme de la creme of weird.
It is.
And I love it.
It's great.
Love it.
It's
I
good.
love it. I love it. I just, the first time I watched it, I was like, this was made for me.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, Sam Raimi, dude? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Sam Raimi is awesome. I
Spider-Man,
love Bruce
come on
Campbell
now.
as
Yeah.
Ash.
Yeah.
I need to watch that show that they made,
Yes.
Ash versus Evil Dead. I've
Yes.
never seen it.
Yes.
And I love the Evil Dead series.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I love just like all of like the crude humor
Yeah.
and the practical effects. I mean, it's just a fantastic film.
Nice.
Pretty gory. It's Evil Dead.
Yeah.
But it's a hilarious film. I really love it. Number 9. I'm actually surprised that it ended up this low. Empire Strikes Back. Star Wars.
Yeah. Had to have a Star Wars film in there, right?
Yeah, you know I did.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. I mean, this is a classic.
I mean, of course.
It doesn't get much better than that.
No, it really
movie-wise, I don't know. Andor might have a run for its money, though. Andor is spectacular.
Yeah,
the series.
Andor is pretty awesome.
But Empire Strikes Back, I mean, you got everything. You got the romance. You've got the mystery with Darth Vader and Luke.
Yes, of course.
This is the first film with Yoda, and Yoda is hilarious in this film.
Yoda.
It's
Yoda, dude.
It's Yoda. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, I cannot imagine there being a film that tops it for Star Wars. But you never know.
Probably
I mean,
not,
Star Wars
but
is coming up with a lot of stuff here soon, so
Yeah.
we'll see. Coming in at number 8 is Whiplash, the drum movie.
Yeah.
You know, every film fan kind of has to go watch Whiplash.
It was good. It was good. A little inaccurate in some parts, I think, just being a drummer myself.
Well,
but you know, J.K. though.
Yeah,
I mean come on.
I almost said J.K. Rowling. Definitely not J.K. Rowling.
Right.
J.K. Simmons is great
heck of
in
a
this film.
performance. Yeah.
Miles Teller is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool story.
He did all the drumming
And-
himself. I mean,
and just the performances between those two alone.
The way it was filmed. I mean, Damien Chazelle, he don't miss. Come on now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Nice.
love Whiplash. That's my number 8. Number 7 is Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig.
Yes. Fantastic film.
This is, oh my gosh, it is. I mean, I watched one of Greta Gerwig's other films.
Yep.
Frances Ha.
Yep.
Well, she didn't direct it. She wrote it.
Yeah. Great. Fantastic director. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and I was like, man, I really like this, but I just wish it was a little different because Frances Ha was a very much like oh, this is just about these two women and they're living, you know, and we're just seeing their lives.
Yeah, for sure.
And I thought that was such a cool concept, but it was just something about that. It's like I just wanted something more.
Right.
And then I watched Lady Bird, and I'm like, that's it.
That's what we
That's
needed.
what I wanted. I don't really know what it was different about it.
But it was something.
But it was something, and it just hit.
Yeah.
It just hit me right.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And
For sure.
Lady Bird is such an amazing film. I
really
love
is.
it
It's
so
good.
much.
It's good.
I think it's probably the greatest coming of age film I've seen. It's really well. Do you got some better ones on your list? We'll talk about it later. But coming in at number 6 is Knives Out. I think this is this is a perfectly written film. There's no holes. Like
I would agree with that.
There's nothing wrong with it.
As far as the script goes,
especially within a mystery like this and all the twists and turns, and then everything comes together and it just makes sense.
Absolutely.
And there's no plot holes.
I would agree with that.
And so just the screenplay alone, I was flabbergasted.
Yeah.
And then the cast was amazing.
It really was.
And then their performances were just as good. And then you know, it's great to have a perfect script, but you got to have the story in there too. And I really enjoyed the story.
Yeah. It all came together.
Yeah, I really love Knives Out. I really liked Glass Onion, the sequel, and I'm really looking forward to the third film coming out next year. The cast looks, once again, absolutely insane.
Stellar. Absolutely.
So I'm really looking forward to that. Number 5 is a very recent film, Godzilla -1. I never would have thought. Look, if you know me, I'm super into tokusatsu. I love monster films. I love all of that kind of stuff. I'm super into Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, all that kind of stuff. So you would think that, like, yeah, this is an easy, but like, you know, Godzilla -1. Holy cow!
Yeah.
I mean, it will tear you apart in all the right ways. Like I mean, it is a post World War II, like right after, but obviously in the point of view of Japan.
Right.
You know, and they lost.
Yeah.
And so, and it's about this man, you know, having to deal, you know, comes to grips. He's a former kamikaze pilot, and he failed his country by not doing his job. And so it's him coming to terms with, it's okay to live. It's okay to have survived.
Yeah.
And the other people can shut up because you know,
I mean,
because that's crazy, you know, the things that they were expected to do for their country. And then he also, there's like this family aspect to where he comes into this wife, this woman and her daughter, and they start a family with each other together, and then they have to figure that out too.
Yeah.
And then Godzilla just happens to be a thing that exists in this movie. I mean, Godzilla isn't a side note. Whenever Godzilla is there, he's important and it's done well.
Yeah.
But it is about these human characters, and that's the way it needed to be.
Yeah.
This story is absolutely incredible. I know it's Godzilla. If you could just put that aside for a moment, this is one of the greatest films I've ever seen. This is in my top 10. It was one of the greatest films of last year. Definitely give this a chance. Give this a watch. I think people, no matter if you're a Godzilla fan, monster fan, tokusatsu fan, whatever, this is a film anybody can enjoy because it is just that great of a film. It's just a great film that happens to have Godzilla in it. Amazing film. Coming in at number 4, Greta Gerwig's back. Little Women. This is a really great film. Based off of the book. I believe the book was released right in like the 1800s. So it was a really old book. Am I right about that? Anyway,
I think so.
It's a really, really old book.
Yeah.
And again, it's just about these women living their lives. It's a post Civil War story, and like Lady Bird, it's just kind of these people's lives, and I there's just something about that that I just really enjoy. It's not
resonated with. I see.
Yeah, it's just not something I see very often.
Right.
And it's another film that just has a crazy cast.
Yeah.
And everybody did such a great job.
Absolutely.
I love the way it was shot. I love the way it was directed. I love the way it was written. I love the way it was performed. I loved literally everything about it.
Absolutely.
It is a really, really great film. Greta Gerwig, I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, she don't miss.
She hasn't yet.
No.
All 3 of her solo directed films are incredible. Even Barbie.
Yes,
I mean, the fact
Barbie's
that
phenomenal.
Barbie is my least favorite of her films is crazy. Yeah. Because I love Barbie.
Yeah. Right.
But Little Women is absolutely incredible too. I believe it's currently streaming on Hulu. Nice. And by the way, back up. Godzilla -1 is on Netflix right now, by the way. So definitely check out Godzilla -1 and Little Women.
Yeah. For sure.
But just another really, really solid film. I just love the way that they did it. And yeah, it was honestly one of those films where like after I watched it, like it's like a film that like stays with you for a while.
Yeah.
It's just like I couldn't stop thinking about it. It's a really great film. Coming in number 3 is Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Look, I know, but I mean it really is just that good.
No, it is. It is.
I don't think there's a single flaw in this film.
Oh
I guess people could say, oh, it's just a part 1. And if you watch the show, I've historically criticized part 1 films, but I mean, they did it with this.
Yeah.
I mean, Across the Spider-Verse was absolutely incredible. It's a flawless film.
Yeah.
And it beat another flawless film.
Yeah.
Because Into the Spider-Verse is also flawless.
Yeah.
I just didn't include it on this list because I wanted to include some other stuff.
Yeah.
But honestly, Into the Spider-Verse would probably just be right under Across the Spider-Verse because they're that close.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to showcase some other films.
Yeah.
But yeah, Across the Spider-Verse is great. I love Miles Morales.
Oh yeah.
His relationship with Gwen Stacy in the film is cool too. Gwen Stacy, honestly, is like the co-lead. She's like half the movie.
She kills it.
And I loved her story as well. I cannot wait for the third one.
Oh my God.
There's no way they could possibly top it.
I think they might be able to beyond the Spider-Verse.
There was no way they could top the first film, and then they did.
Well, and they have to. They ended on a cliffhanger. They got to do it beyond. Have to.
I know. Well, they're definitely making the film. I just don't know how they're going to make it better. Because Across the Spider-Verse is really that good.
Yeah.
But number 2 is Tick, Tick, Boom.
Yeah.
If you know me, you know it's up there. And if you know me, you know that this one and my number 1 are just constantly flipping back and forth.
Yeah, right. Interchangeable.
For me, this film was just right place, right time. Andrew Garfield is amazing as Jonathan Larson.
Absolutely.
If you know me for a long time, you also know I'm really into musicals.
Yep.
I did community theater for I think 6 years.
Yep.
So I'm just already really into that stuff. I was already a fan of Rent. And then Jonathan Larson, who Andrew Garfield plays in the film, he's the person who created Rent. And just the music was great in this film. This is Lin-Manuel Miranda's directorial debut.
Yep. Fantastic.
Again, I think it's just another perfectly crafted story, perfectly crafted film. It's based off of Tick, Tick, Boom by Jonathan Larson, which is an autobiographical musical about himself, which is very interesting. It's just I also just kind of relate to the character a lot. Obviously he was based off of the same real person, but you know what I mean. Like I just related to Jonathan Larson a lot with the way that we think. And so it's just a great film. And Andrew Garfield learned how to sing for this film, and he has the most incredible voice. I cannot believe that he wasn't professionally taught before this. Great film. It's on Netflix. Tick, Tick, Boom. Definitely check it out. Coming in at number 1, we're going to be talking about this a lot today, is The Incredibles. I mean, come on. This is a perfect film if I've ever seen one.
It's a good film. It's a good film.
Is there a lot of nostalgia talking in this? Yeah, but who cares? This is my list. Incredibles is such a great film. I mean, there's so much deep meaning. This isn't just a superhero film.
It's a family film.
It's a family drama that happens to feature superheroes. And that's what I love most about it. That being said, I'm not going to talk too much about it right now because later on in the show, Ian Lloyd is going to be on, and we're going to actually be debating about Incredibles 2. So we're going to be talking about Incredibles quite a bit. So I'm not going to talk your ear off about it too much right here. But yeah, great film. You'll hear much more about my thoughts later on in the show. But with that being said, we're going to take another break, and after this, Kane is going to give his top 10 films. After this.
Hello, I'm Sarah Harrell. I'm from Crossville, Illinois, and I attend here at Wabash for the Advanced Manufacturing Program. Being here has really helped me grow and really experience what it'll be like later in life, being able to work in a shop and actually run machines. I've loved working on the 3D printer and on the wire EDM, and just CNC machines in general. I want to be like a designer and programmer type thing, so I can do most of my time on SolidWorks and programming CNC machines.
Have your weather radio, have a flashlight with batteries in it, make sure your cell phone's charged, know where you're going to go when bad weather hits. Go to the lowest interior room in your house and wait the storm out. After the storm, if your power's out or if there's any kind of dangerous situation or anything like that, call Mount Carmel Public Utility Company. As you go outside to survey the damage a little bit, just make sure to stay away from down power lines.
All right, welcome back to the Film Reel, and we discussed your top 10 greatest of all time, your top 10 favorite personal list, and now we're going to talk about mine.
Okay, I'm excited. Let's hear it.
Let's get into it. Starting off at number 10, Saving Private Ryan.
Okay, classic. Yep.
It is a classic, and what a lot of people consider the greatest movie about World War II ever made.
I don't know, Godzilla -1.
That's true. Well, but I mean, focusing more on the war, though.
Of course. I know what you mean. I was just playing.
And like the first 5 to 10 minutes of the film when they're on the beach is incredible.
Yeah.
That scene alone
probably the
is
greatest
amazing.
open.
Yeah.
One of the greatest opens in the film.
Yeah. And I mean, the cast, of course, you got Tom Hanks and his crew.
I think they just. I don't mean to interrupt, but I think they did like a D-Day. Event reunion of some of the people, event, and like some of the actual veterans from D-Day were there, and then Tom Hanks was there, and meeting with the veterans and stuff like that. It was actually pretty cool to see.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And speaking of Tom Hanks, I mean, he killed it. It's arguably it's one of his greatest films, I think. Him tries to rescue Matt Damon's character.
Yeah, I believe Tom Hanks once said that he only thinks that he has 4 great films, and if that's not one of them, then that's
right.
That's kind of crazy. But
yeah, Saving Private Ryan at number 10.
Okay.
Phenomenal film. And then moving on to number 9, Godfather.
Yeah.
Specifically, Godfather Part 2.
Okay, so we're getting specific.
Yes.
All right.
It is a trilogy, but the Part 2 is it's the best one, I think, to me.
I've heard that a lot, too.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they added De Niro to the cast. You can't go wrong there. And just, I mean, Francis Ford Coppola, come on now.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole storyline is probably one of the greatest storylines to ever, be written in a trilogy like that.
Yeah.
And the acting's amazing, superb, and just from top to bottom, Godfather Part 2, phenomenal film to number 9. Moving on to number 8, you also had this film in your top 10. Had to put a Star Wars film in here, of course. Empire Strikes Back, of course.
If you're gonna put a Star Wars film, it's got to be Empire, probably.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, love story, everything about it, the writing.
It's got everything.
Yeah, everything. And so Star Wars Empire Strikes Back in the number 8 slot. Now moving on to another film that is just amazing, top to bottom, in the 7th slot, Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction.
I was, when I was thinking about this list, I was thinking.
A lot of classics.
Yes, a lot of classics. I was thinking, I gotta have a film directed by Tarantino in this list.
Yeah.
His style is just so out there and creative. And Pulp Fiction, it's just original, it's fresh, it's gritty, raw, the acting, everything about it. Pulp Fiction, top to bottom. So I had that in the 7th slot. Now moving into the 8, I think we discussed this when we were breaking down the box office. A lot of biopics don't, get in there, but this one I thought was phenomenal. And there's been several biopics made about presidents, but I thought that the Lincoln biopic, Daniel Day-Lewis.
I think you've brought this film up a few times.
I have. It's phenomenal. The cast is huge.
Who plays as Lincoln?
Daniel Day-Lewis, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa, sorry. Whoa.
No, it's okay.
I haven't seen this one.
Yes, you should look it up. Daniel Day-Lewis plays him. Oh, he's phenomenal. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, even.
Oh, he's in it.
Yes, he's one of his sons.
Okay.
And
when was this shot?
I believe 2012-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, right around there. I believe right around 2012. And it's just phenomenal. The acting, I believe Daniel Day-Lewis once said in an interview preparing for, about this film that he stayed in character even off screen with his actual wife, that he was like almost linking to her, and they were just, Yes.
That's interesting. I hope they weren't married outside of the movie.
Yeah.
Because that would have been a little weird.
Right. But method acting, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis, he does not miss.
It works for some people.
Absolutely. But that was Lincoln in the 6th slot. Now, moving on to the top 5. This film, oh my God, it's one of my favorite films ever. Apocalypse Now.
We were talking about this before the show.
Another war movie, but it's a war movie, but also sort of a psychological thriller in a lot of ways. Just the character that Martin Sheen it plays and embodies. Another Francis Ford Coppola flick, does not miss. And
I got 2 Greta Gerwig, you got 2 Francis Ford Coppola.
Absolutely. I think Apocalypse Now is just, it's so creative. Some of the scenes, Robert Duvall as the, I believe he's the Army Sergeant General in there. Love the smell of napalm in the morning, that whole scene. When they're on the beach, there's guys in the background, there's smoke from the helicopter and everything. It's just a wild film. If you haven't seen it, there's shots when they're on the river, and Martin Sheen narrates it too, which even adds to the whole effect of the story. But yeah,
I haven't seen this one either, so.
Yes, you should check it out, definitely.
I know I should.
Yes.
I've been told.
Yeah. Apocalypse Now.
I've been told that quite a bit.
Apocalypse Now Redux, which adds like...
Oh, is that like a director's cut?
Yes, almost an hour worth of bonus footage, like maybe like 40...
Whoa.
Well,
That's a
not
lot
an
of
hour,
footage.
maybe like 40 or so minutes.
That's still a lot.
I know, 30 to 40 minutes. We'll
Usually,
say.
like in director's cut, like...
I don't know that for sure. You had to look that up, but 30 to 40 minutes.
If it is true, I mean, usually in director's cut, maybe it's like 10, 15 minutes.
There's quite a bit of bonus footage on it.
If you're not Zack Snyder, that's a lot.
Right. But Apocalypse Now Redux. I should add the Redux.
I'll see if that's like streaming it.
Yes. Number 4, you had Across the Spider-Verse. I would be remiss if I didn't have a superhero flick that embodied the comic book genre, and I went to the classic Endgame. Endgame. Yep.
I mean,
Endgame. I mean,
I can't.
I mean,
say you're wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's made so much money, and of course, almost every movie has flaws, but this movie, I mean, it's incredible.
It is a great film.
Yes. I mean,
I mean, it is like the superhero.
There were parts I didn't like. There was parts that I'm sure all of you didn't like. But, you know, Tony...
Not a lot. I
know.
liked
I gotta
most.
say. I mean, Tony Stark dying really hurt me.
Whoa, hey, spoilers.
Whoa, I should have said that. Okay.
Whoa, 5 years. It's only been 5 years.
I mean, come on. If you haven't seen it by now, I mean...
Holy cow.
But
wow.
yeah, spoiler if you haven't seen it, I guess. But Endgame... Tony, that really crushed me. But phenomenal film, But Endgame in the 4th slot. Now, top 3. I had another war movie in here, but this is about not World War II, but about World War I, 1917.
Dude,
Sam Mendes.
I need to see this movie so bad. I think we've talked about it on the show before. I've owned the DVD for years, and I still haven't put it in.
This film's interesting. Same director that directed Skyfall, James Bond, Sam Mendes. Yeah. And he got Roger Deakins to do the cinematography, who's done legendary cinematography.
Incredible.
He's one that I just have on standby that I know. But he perfected and invented this thing called the one shot. The film is completely shot in just one singular shot. And if
it looks that way, but yeah.
Yeah, look it up, the behind the scenes footage. It will blow your mind on how they did it. And the 2 guys that played, they're phenomenal. I think even Vince Vaughn and Benedict Cumberbatch are also in there.
Yep, I know for sure Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah. So it's quite the cast, and it's just phenomenal. The acting was superb for these guys that are they're young, and they killed it. And it was about World War I, and I think Sam Mendes' grandfather, was in World War I, perhaps. Okay. So just the story behind that added to it. Phenomenal film. 1917 in the 3rd slot. Now, the second film that I had in the number 2 slot, I would be remiss if I didn't have a film that had Leonardo DiCaprio in it. And he starred in this film, a little film called The Revenant.
Okay.
Gave Leo his first Oscar.
I haven't seen this one either.
Yes.
I have not seen most of your list. I'm going to need to take that home with me. And pull that out on my watch list.
Right. Yeah. Now, I could have had several films that Leo starred in on this list.
Yeah. He's in plenty.
Inception. List goes on. But The Revenant, to me, was one of his best roles because, his acting is so good. Yeah. I think the dialogue was pretty minimal because he's portraying this, this skilled woodsman in the woods on his own, surviving the wild, and he was on his own, so not a ton of dialogue. And he gets mauled by a bear and survives. That alone is crazy. And so it's one of my favorite films. But The Revenant, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Tom Hardy is the bad guy in it.
Tom Hardy's in it.
Yes. So, come on.
Definitely
Leo, Tom Hardy, yes. So The Revenant was my number 2, and the number 1...
is Sonic the Hedgehog.
No, it is not. No. No.
What? I thought you were a huge fan.
I am not Bryce. You know this. You guys know this. Oh. No, not Sonic. Not Sonic.
Sorry. No. I got mixed up. That's my bad. All right, so what's your number one?
Okay, drum roll, please. Okay. Avatar.
Whoa.
2, The Way of Water.
So here's the thing. That was incredibly shocking to me, but I respect it. I respect it. I love the Avatar films. Absolutely. I love the Avatar. Absolutely. I did not think it didn't make my top 10. I still love them. I didn't know if it would make your top 10. I had no idea it was going to be number 1.
Yeah.
But I respect it. I respect it.
When we're in a time when, the box office matters, it's,
that's a $2 billion film right there.
Yes. James Cameron, come on. He put
The Way of Water, also, it expands the mythology a lot more.
Continues the story.
A lot more of what's kind of going on.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And the CGI, the effects. Come on.
James Cameron's James
I
Cameron.
don't think there'll be another film. Endgame.
Maybe Avatar 3.
Yes. The next one in the series. Yes. Endgame. Yes, it had effect, but Avatar. James Cameron put everything he had into those effects, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, they filmed Avatar. The Way of Water and this next one, Avatar 3, back to back.
I can't
And
wait.
we're still not even getting it until next year.
Right.
That's how long it takes to make these effects. And they're not playing around.
They're not.
They will take however long it takes.
Absolutely, yeah.
I love the Avatar films.
Absolutely, I do too. The first one, yes, but the second one, I just liked it a little bit better, which I think you did as well.
I do too.
Yeah, and the storyline, exploring the water region of the world. Cool. Just cut in, the acting and all the new characters they added and the characters that they kind of brought back, Yeah. Just from top to bottom, phenomenal film. I had that in the number 1 slot, Avatar 2, The Way of Water. And that's my list right there.
Alrighty, that sounds good. Well, there's both of our top 10 lists. Mm-hmm. We expect you to watch them right now.
Every single one.
But definitely really great films in our opinion. If you haven't seen any of them, definitely please check them out. With that being said, as I mentioned earlier, after this short break, Ian Lloyd is back. He's back. Yes. And we're going to be debating Incredibles 2. Ooh. This has been a long-standing debate between the two of us for years. So we were glad to finally be able to do it on this show. Nice. Buckle up, get your popcorn. We go on for a while. So we'll see. We'll see you again here in not so little bit. Stay tuned.
College doesn't have to start at an expensive school far away. You can save money and be close to home at Wabash Valley College. Many careers only require a 2-year degree or certificate. Or get your general education classes out of the way and transfer to a 4-year school. Wabash Valley College has programs in high-demand careers such as physical therapy assistant, advanced manufacturing, marketing, business management, nursing, and radio television. To find out more about Wabash Valley College, go to iecc.edu/WVC.
At News Channel 15, our commitment is stronger than ever to local content. We produce over 100 local sports broadcasts each year, nightly local newscasts covering and serving our local communities, our In Focus local public affairs program, live video streaming of local events and games. We are proud broadcasters serving our community. We are News Channel 15.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back into the film reel. This is definitely filmed on the same day. I am here with Ian Lloyd.
Wait, that guy quit the show.
Yeah, what happened? I don't know. But he's back for just because it's ending, I guess. And I like.
Yes, I'm back.
He had to. Ian, you and I have been friends for quite a while. We met before we did the show together. Mm-hmm. And we're both really into movies, if you could tell.
Yeah, I would say so.
And, one thing that I really liked about our relationship is how much we argue with each other.
Yeah.
And
I'm pretty sure the first time we actually spoke to each other was when you were bashing the Matrix sequels to a bunch of people. in the office.
Is that true?
We worked
Is that
at.
how we
yes.
met?
Well, we like introduced each other.
Oh yeah. Okay,
but like when we actually sat down and talked about something other than just like, hi, my name is.
Yeah.
You were bashing the Matrix sequels, all of them, and you're like,
Right.
oh, the first one's okay, I guess. Like that one's pretty good.
Well, no, I've always loved the first Matrix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, but then you were like, don't watch the other ones. Those are bad. And then like I was doing something and I twisted around in my chair and like looked at everyone who was like listening to you and I was like, don't listen to this guy because the Matrix sequels are awesome and they might be the most interesting sequels in cinema history.
You know what's great? I don't think you convinced a single one of them to watch.
No, I definitely didn't. I rambled on like
Who won that
ding dong.
Let us know at home.
He won the battle, but I don't know about the war.
I don't know. Well, another, you know, we're talking, you know, this is the film reel finale again, and for real this time. And you know, we're talking a lot about like our favorites, you know, our favorite moments from the film reel, our favorite movies and stuff. And The Incredibles is my favorite movie of all time. I doubt that it'll ever be topped. You know, it came out in 2004, right place, right time. I was like 4 years old.
Yeah.
So I think it's an excellent film. And then many moons later, Incredibles 2 came out. And I was a very disappointed 18-year-old. Yeah, not a fan. I think it's an abomination compared to the first. Ian is crazy and thinks that it's somehow good and decent. So whenever I wanted you to come onto this show, I thought our conflicting ideals would make for great television. Yeah. I think it did. But now we're going to have the proper showdown of all showdowns. We've debated about this for, has it been years? Have we been debating about it since we've known each other?
I think so.
Yeah,
because I watched this film and thought it was pretty good. I didn't love it. I do think...
You can't love it, yeah.
At first, up front, I don't think this movie's as good as the first one.
Of course.
I don't know if anybody has that opinion. Maybe somebody does.
I don't think any Pixar movie is better than it's my favorite Pixar movie.
I agree. So. I think it is the best Pixar movie. But I do think we've been arguing about it because you just hate this movie.
Yeah, I do.
And I don't know why. Because
you're about to find out. We've talked about it. It's not like we haven't talked since we did this show.
I want to actually like hear your whole argument.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you go ahead and start.
Okay. We'll just
And then I will probably rudely interject. And then and then we'll go from there. How does that sound? Okay.
I think we should first start with some context. Maybe.
I think we also got to talk a little bit about the first film as well.
Yes.
And then what made that one so good.
Yes.
Because a lot of my arguments are kind of in relation to the because like let me clarify. If Incredibles 2 was just a standalone film by itself, I probably would enjoy it.
Okay.
But since it is a follow-up to what came before, I've got some major issues. So yeah, you go ahead and get started.
Okay, so you gotta understand, well, this comes out like one of the first Pixar movies before they get actually bought by Disney, right? And so they're just
Incredibles the first one.
Yeah, the first one. And so they're just like throwing out different ideas, bringing in new collaborators and stuff. At the start, it's mostly just Lasseter's bros, and they're all just kind of milling about. Incredibles, I feel like, is the first time they bring in somebody else.
It was, yeah.
Who's like a senior cartoonist, animator. Brad Bird. He did Iron Giant, then Incredibles, and then followed that up immediately with Ratatouille the next year. And then
that's an insane track record. His first 3 films are like 10 out of 10 films. It's crazy.
This is his 4th film. His 4th animated film.
Right. Yeah.
He did live action for a little bit, and I really wanted to see him come back to do more like animation or anything, really. But I do think that this is more important when you look at it through the eyes of what the superhero genre was like.
Yeah.
This came out at the dawn of what we now consider what superhero movies are.
Yeah.
'Cause you had Superman, you had Batman, but those were, I feel like,
it was basically Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, and those were.
You had X-Men in there a little bit.
Too.
But like X-Men was the start of like, okay, they're like more serious. They're starting to like, okay, these could actually not be for just nerds. And then nerds were like, finally, like, even though it's not the same as the comics, finally, like, this is out there. People think it's cool. Yeah. I don't have to be afraid to like this stuff anymore. Right. And then Spider-Man is actually going back and like making all of that earnest comic book goodness like on the screen, and people like it. And that works for people. And then Spider-Man 2 comes out May 2004, I think. And then like half a year later, Incredibles 1.
Yeah.
And that is such a crazy movie to come out at the dawn of like what we think of the superhero genre.
Yeah.
Because that movie, I've said this before, but it feels like how the murder mystery genre is, like Knives Out, how it's so subversive and it's talking about the whole genre as a whole,
right,
and our relationship to it.
Yeah.
And it's like that coming, like it's like Knives Out coming out like in the same year as Murder on the Orient Express, the first one, like the start of the whole thing. And I think that is so crazy. And now Incredibles 2 comes out right after Thanos snaps his fingers. The landscape has changed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Spider-Man's now dead.
Yeah. For like a year and a half.
For a year and a half. And I just think that people's relationship with superheroes is just completely different. And they've had 14 years to love Incredibles 1. Yeah. And they're like, oh, Incredibles 2 is going to come out. It's going to be the best thing ever. The expectations were so huge.
Yeah.
And you cannot help but feel disappointed no matter what it is.
I will give you that much. I mean, nothing, I will give you that nothing could have possibly ever lived up to the hype that I gave this film.
I straight up don't know, like, I can't even imagine any movie ever living up to that. Like, sequel-wise, I guess. Yeah.
Right. And, you know, by the end of this conversation, I'm probably going to argue that we probably should have never got a sequel. You know, which is crazy to say because whenever I was a kid, well, even leading up to whenever I was basically a legal adult whenever this movie came out, all I wanted was to see these characters again, to see more in this world and more of these stories. And you know, the more that I grew up and I've seen this movie probably over 100 times, I realized I didn't like this film because it was just like cool action superhero family stuff. It wasn't just like all of the other superhero films at the time, and nothing has ever really been like it since. It's a very unique film. You know, it's very family oriented. There's like intense, deep messaging in that film. You know, like there's actual lessons to be learned. It's like it's this weird complex because like Mr. Incredible is supposed to be this like big, high, mighty superhero, but you can't help but notice that he is kind of the direct cause of everything bad that happens in that movie to him and to his family as a result of his actions. And by the end of the film, you see him finally succumb to it all, and learn how to be a better man, a better father, a better superhero. And then we cut to this film, and it's just a normal, mediocre superhero story that doesn't really have any deep meaning or messaging. It does have some messaging, and I'm sure we'll bring that up. You know, it's not a complete messageless story by any means, but I just couldn't help but be quite disappointed that, you know, it just kind of felt like a normal, you know, Saturday morning superhero
I get that. And like,
which is not what made the first film great.
Yeah, the first film, you know, it's taken a lot from all comics. It has like the family dynamic of the Fantastic Four. It's got a lot to say about like the American dream, how like families were in like the mid-century, you know. But I feel like most of its influence comes from Watchmen, the comic.
Yeah.
And it's like take on, if superheroes were real, what problems would they actually face? Like, these are people, you know? And it's definitely toned down. It's not like, it's made for families. It's not like Watchmen's like very cynical self, but like it does play around with those ideas. And in a lot of ways, like most Brad Bird films, you can watch it as a kid, love it,
Yeah.
and then come back to it as an adult and be like, wait, there's a lot of adult stuff in here. And it's like an actual drama. It's just, there's so much to like
it's not a kid's
crack
movie.
into.
It's it's subliminal enough to where like a kid can watch it and not get the incredibly deep and dark themes within the film.
It's a family movie.
But yeah, of course, it's still a family movie.
Yeah.
Deadpool 2 is a family movie. You know, like
what?
It's a movie. I mean, that movie was about coming together and being a family as well. But
this is a movie made for families.
Right, I get that. But it's still incredibly dark, you know, especially once you grow older and you realize what this film is actually about and how the events actually transpire, you know, at the very beginning of the film.
Oh, yeah.
So going into the sequel, my problem is that if you were to read just a general synopsis of Incredibles 2, you would think that this film would be even more about, you know, the everyday struggle of being a superhero. I mean, this whole film is about them trying to repeal the law that made superheroes illegal in the first place.
Yeah.
However, I never got that message. You know, I mean, events happen, you know, that make the superheroes legal, but those events that happen and the result of those events don't correlate with each other at all.
Okay.
because we're dealing with, you know, this businessman and this company whose sole purpose and hope is to convince these government organizations, these countries, to want to sign this bill into law to remake the superheroes, or to make the superheroes legal again in this fictional world.
Yeah.
However, none of the events that happen in that film, like it doesn't make sense for those government officials to make, because at the very beginning of the film, they fight the Underminer, they destroy the city, you know, he gets away, so many people were in danger, and they get in huge trouble with the law.
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden this company comes in, and then Elastigirl starts doing her thing, which still causing damage, you know, still, you know, I mean, people being saved, but, you know, like, she isn't we don't exactly see her do a much better job than they did with the Underminer incident.
She does, yeah. There's much less damage, and they do get to this, where it's like, oh, the reason we're doing Elastigirl is like the main, like, forefront is because she's gonna do less damage.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, but like you know, a train still almost derailed,
Almost.
you know, almost, and then they almost leveled a city with the Underminer, you know?
Well, yeah. Well, that is a lot different from a train, like, not even really getting damaged.
But then, especially on the ship, on the boat, where all of them, because eventually throughout the film, they get all of these, you know, superheroes together that were previously in hiding, but then they all get brainwashed by the villain, which we'll get to her motives in a minute, because that doesn't make any sense. So they cause complete mayhem, you know, the boat's gonna crash into the city, you know, a bunch of people, again, were hurt, and then, you know, right at the end of the film, they go like, we need superheroes, right? Yeah. But it wasn't any different than the Underminer incident at the beginning of the film.
The problem...
other than they caught the bad guy, I guess?
No,
you know?
no.
The Film Reel will be back after these messages.
My name is Parker Linson. I'm a second-level nursing student at Wabash Valley College. We were able to get hands-on experience with a mannequin that has real breath sounds, real, you know, lung sounds, and can cough and, you know, do different things. That makes it really unique to have that kind of experience right here on campus. And then we've done clinicals. Being able to go into those ICUs and emergency departments and be able to see those critical patients, it is a very good experience. Being able to be in that position and look back to where I come from, it's just awesome to be able to have that experience.
Steve Faulkner Automotive in Mount Carmel, Illinois has a huge selection of Jeeps and Chryslers. We have great deals, affordable financing, and an exceptional service department. Come see us today or view our new and pre-owned inventory at SteveFaulknerAutomotive.com. Steve Faulkner Automotive in Mount Carmel, Illinois has a complete lineup of Fords, We have great deals, affordable financing, and an exceptional service department. Come see us today or view our new and pre-owned Fords at stevefaulknerautomotive.com.
You're watching the film reel on News Channel 15.
The difference is you had ambassadors seeing all this action play out. You know?
They were all brainwashed throughout the whole thing.
No, but then they get woken up and then they're on the ship and they're going to the back and they're part of the action. Plus, like Bob Odenkirk's character, the businessman, he says, like at the start, the problem here is that people see destruction and they see superheroes and they're like, okay, we need to blame superheroes because that's who's causing the destruction, obviously. That's what the politicians are aiming towards. With the businessman, like, I forgot his name. I don't even know his name.
What's Deaver?
Deaver. Anyways,
Winston Deaver, yeah.
Yeah, Winston, dude.
Or Dever, yeah.
Winston Dever. His
Endeavor, oh my God.
Yeah, dude. So his whole thing, his whole plan is to, like, have the perception. They're putting cameras on people's like uniforms and outfits and stuff.
Well, that was his sister's plan to take over, but
no.
Because she developed the technology.
She developed the technology, but that's his plan. He was like, oh, that's how we're gonna get people to like the superheroes if they're like seeing the action, if they see what you're doing.
Sure, I believe the sister who is secretly the villain tricked him into doing that, but. I believe the character thought it was his idea.
Wait, how's the cameras on the uniforms?
Because like, that's what Screenwave or Screenslaver ends up controlling them.
No, they use the glasses.
Well, yeah, but then she's also able to control. Well, yeah, that's what initially brainwashed them. But she's able to like make them move and stuff through like. The stuff that they implanted in the suits, I thought.
No. It's all of the screens and the goggles. Okay. That hypnotizes them.
Anyway, but she's still able to see, like she did that so she could see everything that they were doing too, because she wouldn't have been able to monitor the superheroes that she was controlling without that.
She had her own intentions.
Right.
But Winston...
I don't think that dude ever made a decision of his own without the sister involved.
Yeah, he did.
No.
This whole thing wouldn't have happened.
The whole time.
No, this thing wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for him being like, we need to bring superheroes back.
Yeah, and she's used that to control them.
No, she hated that idea. So she's like, oh, if he's going to do that, then how about I like underlie all of his stuff with like making this never happen ever again because I freaking hate superheroes.
All right. Let's get to that point.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Do you know what I'm going to say?
You hate her?
No. Well, I don't like her character. That is true. But so this all happens because the superheroes are already illegal. Mm-hmm. Their parents' house, their mansion, gets robbed by these criminals, these robbers or whatever. The superheroes are already illegal. This is a flashback, and the father they make it. They say this a million times throughout the film that they have a safe room in their house, and instead of going to the safe room like the wife begged him to do, he chose to call Gazer Beam, Veronic, whatever, and use their hotline, even though he knew they weren't going to answer because they're not superheroes anymore. And surprise, the villains broke in, killed them, and that's why Screenslaver wants the superheroes to be illegal. Okay, the superhero, besides her dad just being a moron, the reason why they died...
I feel like this is what the whole film is about.
The reason why they died was because the superheroes were illegal. Yeah. Because they weren't able to save them. So wouldn't you think that she would want the superheroes to be legal so they can save people? That doesn't make any sense. Her motives make no sense because the superheroes becoming illegal are directly what caused this incident to happen. Yeah. So why would she want the superheroes to stay illegal?
I think she's hung up on the part that you were talking about being a moron, where he was just like, he had this like ideation for these superheroes. He was like, oh, even though they're illegal, they're gonna save me because like I have faith in them. And her whole idea is like, why do we need faith in these people that are special just because they were born like that. We need to like take things into our own hands, you know? That's what the whole movie is about, to me, is that it's these two opposing ideologies that are like so extreme.
Sure, I agree that that's what the film is about.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't, like, I get that that's the lesson that they're trying to tell.
Yeah.
But also, whenever she is Screenslaver, she has a completely different message and a completely different motive, because whenever she's supervillain and not Evelyn, she's doing this whole speech to Elastigirl about how, they're the slaves to the screen and the media is controlling and the governments are controlling the populace and brainwashing them, but never throughout her backstory does she if they wanted to tell that story too, like have like her dad watching the news and like talk about how great these superheroes are and how we need to be looking up to them, and like maybe seeing him being brainwashed by the government or the media, but we don't see that. Well, all we see is the superheroes doing what they've already always done. Him and Gazer Beam were good friends, and then they become illegal. He needs help. They're not there to help him.
Yeah.
That's all we really see.
I thought all of that stuff was just performance, to be like, she's telling that to the masses, like, they're all brainwashing you. This is like the government.
The government doesn't want them to be supers anymore.
True. This is a big point, because she is mad at this, but I think she's acting like...
If anything, they're doing the opposite.
They're acting like, she's acting like they're illegal right now, when they're not. But I do think most of her plan is like, I need to stop this before it happens again. I need to just stop this
before what happens again?
Before they become legal again.
But so what would happen if they become legal again? They just start saving people?
Yes.
So that's a bad thing?
No, because she's disillusioned with that. She doesn't think that
that doesn't make sense.
Bryce, she doesn't care about that. She wants people to be independent for themselves. She doesn't want the convenience of, a superhero is going to save me, so I don't have to save myself. That's her whole ideology.
I get that.
Yeah.
But that was already the case. So the superheroes were illegal.
She wouldn't have done anything if her brother hadn't started this program.
Man, I just don't understand how anybody could see any way that this is anybody's fault but her father just being an idiot. She thinks if the superheroes were illegal, her father wouldn't have died. Or I mean, if the superheroes never became illegal, her father would be alive.
Yeah, but I think you're not seeing the forest for the trees right now.
And then they have this huge explosions. The boat runs into the city. They're flying the plane up into space for some reason. And then I guess all the ambassadors were there. But I mean, okay. So would you say the government and the politics were fairly realistic in the first film? The superheroes are getting sued, all this destruction is happening, so they chose to make them illegal. Do you think that that's something that would happen in the real world?
It's simplified, obviously, but yes.
Yeah, for film's sake, yeah. Okay, so what do you think would happen if in this world that we live in, superheroes existed, they've been illegal for a while, now we're trying to pass a bill to make them legal, a bunch of the world leaders are on a boat where this supervillain is able to control every single superhero on that ship to crash the boat, potentially kill all of our world leaders.
Yeah.
They narrowly saved them, but they also almost killed every single, however many world ambassadors were on that ship. Do you realistically think that in this world that we live in right now, the government would be just like, let's make them legal?
Not on their own, because I feel like the government would have a lot of backlash to that if two things weren't clear. Ambassadors are right now, the film shows that they're super grateful, and this whole campaign is run by this billionaire who can just grease so many elbows. And that's the whole reason this whole thing happens is because he's like
another discussion, but
I feel like he's kind of like, you know, making the politicians be like, hey, this like you got to think about the old days, the olden days. But maybe we should get off the superhero things.
Okay.
What do you think about the family drama? Because this is like half of the Incredibles is superhero and the other half is the family aspect to it.
I think that is kind of the only part that I like. The family stuff is fun.
Yeah.
Dash didn't really get a lot to do, but I think he served his purpose.
He's got a little bit, but like
the Jack stuff was weird. This is something that was introduced in the first film, so I can't really fully knock this film for all of this. But the fact that Jack has like 100 powers just doesn't really make sense in universe. No other superhero has that. Why is Jack so powerful? It's never really explained. Doubt that it ever will be.
I think for me, all the powers that the family holds is not really like a thing where it's like, oh, this has to make perfect sense for this world. It's more of like, what do families like? What categories do they fit in? Because Mr. Incredible, he's the head of the family, and usually
this is a very good point, actually.
Men of the family have to be strong.
Yeah.
Like traditionally.
Stereotypically, yeah.
And the women of the household, they have to be flexible.
Yeah.
And teenage girls usually feel insecure, they want to be invisible. And like the small, like maybe the kid is like super energetic, he wants to be fast. And then babies are just unpredictable. You don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, but eventually the kid's gonna grow up and he's gonna have like 14 powers.
Because we don't have to worry about that right now. Because it's all about it.
I do get that point, and that's honestly, I think the strongest argument that you've made out of anything that I've said so far. That's the strongest rebuttal that you've had. You know.
Okay. All right, Bryce. All right.
So,
I see how it is. Okay.
So I gave you a compliment. You're welcome. One thing I didn't like about the family dynamic, however, is how they handled Violet's arc. It was just kind of, it wasn't the same, but it kind of was just the same as this same sort of stuff that she went through in the last film.
I disagree strongly, as Winston says in the movie. I disagree strongly.
That was actually a funny line. So obviously, you know, in the first film, we see Violet deal with more so of her anxieties and her struggles with just being a person.
Yeah.
So that's not really what this film is about. But also in that first film, we just see her, you know, becoming herself, and you know a lot of a big lesson of the first film is that it's okay to be special, you know, and it's okay to embrace your talents, and that's something that I honestly, Violet might have the second best arc throughout that first film, and I feel like, you know, with Tony, the boyfriend, you know, figuring out her secret identity and having to get the mind wipe, and then them having to go through that all over again, you know, and she's sort of renouncing, you know, her superpowers and wanting to be a superhero. We just kind of get the same story again with Violet. And I found that to be very, very frustrating the first time I watched it, the second time I watched it, and this time I watched it. I don't think that I will ever be swayed on that one. That one really, really bothered me about the whole family arc storyline that went on.
Allow me to sway you, because I feel like I really like Violet's arc in this, because in the first movie she's really shy, she's like not confident at all, and that is where that like feeling of like, oh, superhero powers, like she feels not confident at all with her powers, and like she doesn't know if she can make like a force field or anything, and that's her whole arc. And the first one is like, oh, can I even do my superpowers? Am I good at this at all? And at the start of this one, she knows she's good at it. But the whole thing about this, and like Tony, that's his name, right?
Yeah, Tony Ridinger.
Ridinger. He is more of a character in this one. In the other one, he has like 3 lines.
Of course, kind of. I mean, but he doesn't really Kind of. He has more. He has more lines. I wouldn't say he's more of a character, but
I think they give him a little more character in this. Not much, honestly.
Disagree,
not much.
but continue.
But I do think that her arc is different in this because she's confident in herself. She's wearing the hair back, and this confidence makes her more like aggressive when all this happens. And I feel like the point that she learns now is, oh, I'm confident in my abilities as like a super person, but as a teenager now I'm learning like, what do I need to sacrifice? Like, do I need to sacrifice my superpowers to like have this relationship that I want? It's like a very Spider-Man thing, to me at least. Because I
can see where you could come to that conclusion. I think you got to jump through a few hoops to get there.
I think it's there. I think it's all there.
But I can somewhat see it. My problem is, yes, it is different because obviously she has gone through she knows she's capable.
Yeah.
That part is different. My problem is that we end up in the exact same place by the end. Literally, this movie ends exactly the same way the first one ends, with her finally gaining the courage to ask out Tony Reitinger. They decide they're gonna go on a date, but then there's a crime going on, so we gotta put on our masks and rush off into the scene of the crime, and fight the bad guys. It's literally the exact same ending of the first film.
I find that scene so funny because it starts exactly what you're saying. It's like, oh, we're doing the same exact thing, but then right before it hits with the masks, she's like, no.
Yeah.
He's getting out of here. He's not part of this. I still want both sides. Like, I can juggle both, but like, she's learning that she has to like improvise and like sacrifice things to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to juggle both at the same time.
Yeah.
Also, maybe the best line in the movie is that scene when Tony's like, oh, you guys seem close. And then Bob is like, we can get closer. Makes me laugh every single time. I die laughing.
I wish I were lying whenever I say I did chuckle at that.
It's so funny, man.
Let's wrap back around real quick to something that you said earlier.
Okay.
So what you were saying that you believed was the lesson of Violet's story.
Yeah.
With her having to like balance the relationship between the superhero stuff. I think that would have been infinitely more interesting because I don't believe that was the case, but I think that it could have been the case and it would have been infinitely more interesting and Violet probably would have had the best arc in the movie if Tony Reitinger never figured out that she had superpowers, never found out that she was a superhero, they never wiped his memory, and they just were together. And we were able to see them be together, but then also she's got to go off and do like superhero stuff.
Yeah.
That would have been a way more interesting way to tell that story than just to do like a redo all over again.
That's another way to tell it, for sure. I kind of like it because they're both different types of conflict, but like they still kind of like, that's what they do. Yeah.
But between the first film and this, okay, so yeah, she's more confident in herself.
Yeah.
But we're still telling the same story of just be yourself, and which is a great story, but it's a story that's already been told. I want to see development. I don't want to see the characters go through the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's a very important story to be told, but I don't think it's told efficiently if you just kind of say the same stuff.
Okay.
Or come to the same conclusions every time.
Yeah. So who do you? I think we're both going to agree on this. Who do you think is the best arc in the movie?
Mr. Incredible.
Yeah. Bob,
yeah.
And I feel like Elastigirl gets kind of shortchanged a little
yes,
bit, even though this
was.
is her story.
Yeah.
Because with The Incredibles, it really felt like Bob and Syndrome had this like past,
That's another point.
And it was very much like those two, they kind of fed into each other about what the movie was about, what they were saying, like the different like ideologies were like kind of the same. They were both trying to go back to the golden era, but it was also like, you know.
It was very interesting. Yeah. I mean, they kind of were saying the same things, but in opposite ways.
And I do like the screenslavers plot, even though you hate it. I do think there's something there, and there's like two different truths, right? There's, oh, we need superheroes. Oh, we don't need superheroes. And those are two extremes, and they kind of get like blown out of proportion on either side to a degree that kind of sucks. But like, there's somewhere in the middle that is accurate. People should fend for themselves, but also superheroes in this universe should exist because they're good at what they do, and they're they're doing hero things. And what was I saying? I was saying something. Oh, Bob. So the whole thing with this is I feel like Bob gets the best arc in this.
Of course, easily.
And all right, you go ahead. I need to formulate.
Okay, so
the film reel will be back after these messages.
Ever since my friends stopped listening to 89.1 The Bash, they've been boring. That's so me. Are you reading a dictionary? Yeah, I'm getting ready for the next Wordle.
You know, I love long car rides without music. I can tell you all my fully detailed life story. It all started when I was born. Hey.
What is this? What's the station, bro? This is 89.1 The Bash, today's hit alternative, and it's guaranteed to cure your boredom.
News Channel 15, winner of the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System Award for the nation's best community college TV station.
You're watching the film reel on News Channel 15.
One big, you actually brought up another big issue I have with this film. So in the first film, the Incredibles 1, Bob, Mr. Incredible, and Syndrome were two magnets of the same side that were bashing against each other. They were very similar, but they clashed heads. We see that a little bit in this film, to where Helen and Screenslaver have somewhat of the same ideologies, but we don't have that personal connection between the two like we did with Mr. Incredible and Syndrome, aka Incrediboy. Yeah. You know, and that's what made them work so well. Not only the fact that they were two magnets, bashing against each other, but also the fact that, Mr. Incredible directly caused this villain to be created. Yeah. Because of the way he treated Buddy. And again, I guess, I don't want them to just do that all over again, but there wasn't really any sort of personal connection between the hero and the villain within this story. Elastigirl was just the superhero, and Screenslaver was just the villain, and since they were hero and villain, they had to fight, you know?
I do really like how this movie was kind of like fulfilling the promise of the very first scene of The Incredibles, where it's like this, it's a very ironic intro to start, where it's like found footage of this old interview from the different superheroes. And you have Mr. Incredible being like, can't people just like stay saved? I just want to like rest, I just maybe stop getting like in crime all the time. And then Elastigirl's like, no, I'm ready to go. Like, let's keep going. We're gonna just leave the jobs to the men. Let's go, ladies. And then it's like 15 years later, Bob is so depressed, he just wants to go back to the golden era. Because and he doesn't really know how to live in the moment. He doesn't know that right now is what he needs to be like chasing after. He needs to be loving his family and like realizing that there's so much heart there instead of the past. And Elastigirl realizes this, even though she was like raring to go at the start. She's like, oh, family is what matters now. And I do like that her arc in this one. It's not really an arc, but it's more of a, she's so giddy that she gets to do this again.
Yeah, and it felt very out of character to me, but continue.
I don't think so. I think she was still worried about her family.
She was.
At first.
It wasn't it wasn't like before where I'm gonna say, oh, they just flipped it around.
Yeah.
They didn't just flip it around
No,
because
no.
Mr. Incredible wanted to just get out there too. So it wasn't like he was trying to bring her back. But go ahead.
She was doing this because she felt like it was necessary, and then once she started doing it, she was like, oh yeah, this is great. I love doing this.
Okay.
I feel like I have purpose here, and I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish there was more of it, and I feel like Bob gets to have more because he's having to learn. It's a follow-up of the last film where he gets this humility of like, okay, I need to be here for my family.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing here? The prison scene in the first movie is like maybe the crucial part of that story.
Yeah.
It is so wonderful just to hear him be like, oh, I've been treating you all like garbage.
Yeah.
And in this one, he's having to reckon with that, and he's just feeling more and more unconfident in himself.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want to do this still, and I have a chance to do it, but they don't want me right now. And maybe I'll get a chance later, but he doesn't feel like he can prove himself because now he's like, oh, maybe I'll watch over the kids, but he feels bad at doing that too. And so he feels worthless. Yeah. And I feel like these two movies are really good at like following dynamics that families had at the middle of the 20th century and how those dynamics were changing and how American history was like.
That's what this film does best.
Yeah. I really feel like it taps into something good there.
Yeah.
And I do like the superhero stuff. I do think it's weaker than the first, obviously. And I like that they're doing the different ideology things, but it could have been tightened up a little bit. And I know this movie like got a whole year taken off of it.
That is a great point.
Which sucks.
That's a great
like,
point.
For what they did,
yeah.
I think this movie rules.
Because for some reason they switched release dates for Toy Story 4.
Well, you know the whole reason with that was because they had no idea what Toy Story 4 was going to be.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That was down to the wire. Like they started like the actual
Considering
story.
Toy Story 4 turned out pretty well.
Toy Story 4 is great. And I mean, from I guess my last few thoughts, for me personally, Incredibles 2, so gorgeous. I think the animation's beautiful. Sorry, I think it looks
glossier.
Great. Yeah.
But I don't know if I would say that I like it better than the original.
I feel like the first one.
And that might just be my nostalgia goggles. I don't know. I got them on, you know, so I can't really take them off. You know, I watched this like 100 times whenever I was like 6, you know, so.
Animation-wise, I don't really want to compare the two too much, but I do feel like Brad, back then, 2004.
Go ahead.
Barely got, that movie is doing so much with the limitations.
Yes.
And it's doing a lot.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
It still looks great.
It does look great. I agree.
Yeah.
And that's the first time Pixar actually like dealt with humans really, other than like Boo and Monsters Inc.
Yeah, just like side characters, yeah.
Really. And
half the time she was covered up in a monster costume, so.
Yeah. And I feel like in this one, they really get to stretch their wings and be like, let's go so far. And there's so much physical comedy and there's so much like slapstick. And I think
comedy, sure.
I think there's so much well done animation. Yeah. It feels like if any of you have played the game Psychonauts, there's so much of that like Art Deco 60s inspired stuff where like the guy who shoots lightning, his lightning looks 2D. And there's like so many moments like that where it just feels like, oh, they're having so much fun with this animation and they're like going like further with it than they ever could. And I love all that. I'm not going to say it's better than the first.
No.
Because I do like both of them and I think they're different pieces to each other. But I think it looks gorgeous.
Everything is subjective. I think that would be blasphemous if anybody actually thought that this was like anywhere close to being better than the original.
Like looking better?
No, just better quality.
Oh,
I thought that's what I thought you meant.
No, I just meant like
you meant quality.
I meant like the way it looks.
Yeah, okay. Animation quality. Okay, so that's a little bit different. maybe not blasphemous. I think it just kind of looks. Whenever they're not doing stuff like that, which they do, they do fun stuff with that. But whenever they're not doing stuff with like that, I feel like it just kind of is bland. Especially whenever at the very beginning with the Underminer fight, I especially thought that sequence felt very, very bland.
Bland?
Yeah, bland.
There's that one scene where like he's on the drill and like he's going through the earth and you can see like the darkness of the rocks and like the shadow and like the light in front and it looks like a graphic illustration, like a splash page from like a comic from the 70s to me.
Really.
It really feels like that.
I will say one moment that was pretty well done.
Yeah.
Was whenever Mr. Incredible gets run over by the tractor tire and he comes up from the other side and he's like kind of squished a little bit.
Oh, that's great. The moment when Violet slews the water out of her nose. That all that animation is so fun.
I will say, oddly enough, I definitely thought it felt bland from the very beginning. But as the film went on, I even said to myself, I was like, okay, this is feeling a little better actually. I don't know if it was just I needed to get used to it maybe, or because I did just watch the first one the night before. But I still ended up I like the look of the first one more.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that. But I do think in both regards, Brad Bird is such a competent director. He knows exactly what to do, and he shoots action so well.
Yeah.
Even if you think the plot sucks, or even if you think some of the action sequences are they don't hold the same emotional weight, he shoots it crazy, even though, we're talking about animation here. He doesn't actually shoot it.
But
he's one of those...
I feel like animation might be harder, probably. Because you can't just... you have to, completely make everything, you know?
He's one of those directors to me where him directing an animated film feels like you're watching a live-action film, the way it
I 100%
shot,
agree with that.
You know?
For sure.
And I don't know. I think this film is special. I don't think it's perfect at all, but I don't know if there's really any way you could have done something wonderful with the Incredibles sequel. I'm going to be honest.
That's going to bring up my final point for today.
Yeah.
As I watched through this film, and especially whenever we were talking about Elastigirl, I'm thinking to myself, what would I have wanted them to do with her character?
Yeah.
What would have I wanted them to have done with a sequel story? And 10-year-old me is probably kicking and screaming right now, but I think this story was better off not being told. Okay. I don't think that there really is a good idea to follow up that original story, at least well. I think because as I said earlier, if this was just some just general Marvel movie or whatever, maybe something not connected to anything else, I'd be like, yeah, sure, this is fine. There's no problems with this. Yeah. I probably would have still had some problems with the villain's backstory, but I don't think that makes any sense. But I would have been like, this isn't offensive or anything, But since it is following up one of the greatest superhero stories ever told, that's a real burn. For me, especially it being my favorite film ever, how much that first film means to me personally. I don't see, in retrospect, after seeing what they did with this film, I don't see a story that I think could have been told that I would have enjoyed, I guess, enough for me to go oh yeah, this is fantastic. Because Pixar can do it. They made 4 great, Toy Story films, but not every story needs a sequel. And I think, Incredibles ended on a note to where we didn't need to see the superheroes becoming illegal again. We just see them, the Underminer coming up, he's like, behold the Underminer, and I'm gonna destroy you, and then they put the masks on, and it's okay, it's go time, and I think that's really all we ever needed to see, besides that really awesome video game on the PlayStation 2.
Where they beat the Underminer. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Dude. I disagree. I get what you're saying. I really do understand what you're saying.
I actually thought you would agree with that a little bit.
No, I'm really happy this movie exists. This is the first time I've rewatched it since I watched it back in theaters. And I was just happy to be watching it because I just love these movies, with Brad Bird movies specifically.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
I love whenever he makes a movie, maybe other than Tomorrowland. Sorry, Tomorrowland lovers. But
still haven't seen it. I think that's the only one I haven't seen of his.
I haven't seen it either.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. so we might enjoy it.
You know what? George Clooney, let's go. You know what? Whatever.
Wait a minute.
My point is, I'm happy this movie exists. I think it's playing with a lot of fun ideas. I do think that it kind of got muddled in expectations. I don't know if Brad Bird really wanted to do this.
That year that they cut off development really hurt it too.
Yeah,
and I can't ignore that. I mean there was major production shifts that happened that I think a lot of storylines got cut that potentially could have made things maybe make a little bit more sense.
They probably would have. But as it exists today, I do think it's stunning. I do think there's a lot of good stuff in this movie, that it's worthwhile. Because a lot of people just say like, oh, this movie is just meh, it's forgettable, it's whatever. And I think there's a lot of good superhero filmmaking here, honestly. And I do really, rewatching it this time, after I rewatched The Incredibles 1 like last year. Rewatching it this time, I was so delighted to see that they still kept all of the family drama stuff. There's a scene with Bob and Helen in the hotel that they're staying at the start when they first get the job offer. And they're both talking about it. Helen's like kind of like nervously excited. She's like, should I do it? I don't really know, whatever. And then Bob is like, he's kind of having like an argument with himself. And he's like, you're gonna be great at this, and I love that.
That part was funny because, like I said, I did enjoy the family stuff.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the family stuff,
and I do think there's a lot to say about like just Brad like looking at the superhero genre and being like, what have I done? Like I like kind of started this and like look at everything that's come before, and people now are expecting me to like make a sequel.
Made a really normal film
14 years after he made the first one, and he's like, what do I even do now? And I think some of that is kind of like tackling like, do we need superheroes? Do we need superhero movies? And then at the end they're like,
maybe.
Yeah, superhero movies are good.
I will say this. I do feel like this was a little bit like a Matrix Resurrection situation, where which Wachowski sister was it again that directed that one?
Lana Wachowski.
Lana Wachowski. Neither of the Wachowski sisters wanted to make another Matrix movie. Warner Brothers kind of forced their hand, and they're like, we're gonna make this with or without you. You want to be on it?
The whole story was they would ask like every year or so. They'd be like, it's open. Do you want to do another Matrix? And they would be like, no. And then finally it got to a point where they're like, okay, somebody else is interested, so we're going to ask one more time. Do you want to make it first grabs? But if not, we're probably going to do it without you. And at that point, Lily was like, no, absolutely not. And then I think Lana, they had both like lost their parents. And now we're just fully getting into the Matrix. But Lana was like, I think in some interview, she was like, in my grief, I started thinking, I just want to hang out with Neo and Trinity again. I was getting comfort from the characters I created. And is that good or is that bad? Because like so many new movies these days are like, let's go back to the characters that we loved before.
Yeah.
And the Matrix is like, why do we need to bring these characters back? Is that worthwhile? Like, they'll just be suffering because they're in a movie again with conflict, and they're gonna hate it, and they're gonna be in the Matrix again, and that's exactly what they didn't want to be in. And I want to see like what you think is connective to that from the Matrix, like for Incredibles 2.
Yeah, I don't get the impression that Brad Bird ever really wanted to make a sequel to The Incredibles. In fact, I believe he said in interviews before that he was never interested, never really wanted to make another one. The story was complete. I now agree with him. And I feel like this is kind of another situation where Disney was like, hey, we're going to make another Incredibles. With or without you, we can make it without you. I mean, we can make it with you. In fact, we would prefer that. But if you say no, we're just going to make it anyway. And I feel like I'm not speaking for anybody. I don't know if this is the case. We do know it was the case for the Wachowskis, but I just from previous interview stuff, I feel like this was a very similar scenario to where Brad Bird didn't really want to make a sequel, and then he's just like, here, I'll just, write a superhero movie like any normal film that's out today, and that's what happened. That's what we got. So
I definitely think I don't like this as much as Matrix Resurrections. I think that movie has more to say.
Sorry. That's another debate. I don't like that film either. So
guys, Incredibles 2, I feel like doesn't have as much to say. I do feel like with the years.
I will say this, at least Matrix Resurrections, the message was clear and it made sense. I didn't like literally anything else about it, but the messaging was clear and it made sense to what was going on in the film. So
I think Brad is having a lot of fun here because he's a great director. I wish he'll do more stuff.
Yeah, I think this was his most recent film.
This is his last film.
Yeah. Well, his most recent.
His most recent, the last film he made.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, like last film, that could be like forever. Like, but that's what you said. That's why I'm saying that we should say.
Brad, I didn't mean that.
Oh my God.
I just meant his last film you made, and I'm glad this was your last film and not Tomorrowland. Gonna be honest.
Well, I hope this isn't his last. Well, hey, we might get an Incredibles 3 here soon. That's what these websites are reporting, that they might be making an Incredibles 3.
And if you're making that, heck yeah, dude, I'm all for it. Make more live action movies. I love doing Mission Impossible, dude. That movie rules.
Okay.
Anyways, I think Brad is having a lot of fun with this movie. I think it's great. I think it's worthwhile. I do agree with you. I do think maybe his hand was taken a little bit, and maybe this.
And we removed a year of development off the film.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, but I do think for what it is, he was able to churn out something that was actually pretty good.
The Film Reel will be back after these messages.
From News Channel 15.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Monday night. I'm Kyle Peach reporting.
Right now, I'm here at the Riverview Stadium, otherwise known as the Snake Pit.
Well, that wintry precip south of 64 happened last night, and White and Hamilton.
Now the spin, now hands out. Shalana Wagner, top of the key, nothing but the bottom.
Hello and welcome to the Not So Late Show.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Sports Cubed.
That does it for us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night.
So, what's your story? Looking for a cost-effective way to begin your college career? One that's close to home? Or are you still unsure of a career direction? Here's the answer. The 4 Illinois Eastern Community Colleges. With 100 certificate and associate degrees in career and technical fields, many online and many transferable. Frontier Community, Lincoln Trail, Olney Central, Wabash Valley. 4 colleges, 1 mission. Let us help write your life story. Check us out online at iecc.edu.
You're watching The Film Reel on News Channel 15.
So I think we should end off with our personal ratings of this.
Oh, okay. All right.
Unless you have anything more to say.
No, I was just gonna end it abruptly and have it be like a little funny, but but we'll go ahead and do that. No, I'm just kidding. Listen, my rating actually did rise from the last time. I watched this. Oh God, dude, you rated. Haven't you? Well, anyway, I won't spoil your rating. But that means it might be a little way higher than I would like it to be. It's your opinion.
All right.
It's your opinion. All right. So I think the last time I had it, I rated this film a 4 out of 10. I believe I retroactively rated it even higher because I was like, okay, maybe a 3 out of 10 is a little dramatic. So I went from a 3 to a 4. Now I'm at a 5 out of 10. I mean, really, it's the family dynamic stuff that really kind of raises it up for me. I'm like, okay, you know what? This stuff is actually like legitimately great. You know, just literally everything else that surrounds it, I don't like at all. So you go ahead with yours.
First, I had a 6 or 7, flip-flopped a little bit. Then I just had a 7. I think it's an 8. I think it's 8 out of 10. Oh my God. I think it's great. I think this movie is so much fun. It has so much good comic book stuff in it, dude. And yeah, it's not as good as the first one. Sorry. But I think taken on its own, this film works, and I think it is a great time. It looks great. It feels great. It feels incredible, pun intended. And I can't be mad at this movie. I had a smile on my face the whole time.
Alrighty, folks. So let us know who you thought won this debate here. Honestly, this was a lot more civil than I thought it would be. So, no, not throwing chairs. I thought I'd get a little more riled up, but
I'm glad you did.
That would hurt your feelings. Ooh, man, we should film our other debates sometime. but anyway, so yeah, thank you all for watching this debate. Now we're going to take another quick break here, and we're going to be having some more film reel finale action coming up.
I'm the first kid of my family to ever go off to college.
It's very affordable. Community colleges are not something to blow off.
What stands out the most for me is their science program.
Math and science programs they have here are top-notch.
To me, it's just a big old family like that. That's what I like about it most.
If I had to go back and do it all over again, I'd still go to only Central College.
I highly recommend going here. It's a great school. I love it.
Hi, my name is Rylan Robb. I am from Albion, Illinois, and I am a radio TV major here at Wabash Valley College. From broadcasting all sorts of sports games to producing my own TV show and radio show, the hands-on experience is as much as you want to do with it. In terms of the program itself, I think it's really special. It's really like almost a little family in a way, and it's really been really nice being able to experience the things I have with people that genuinely appreciate it with me.
Welcome back to the Film Reel. Thank you all for sticking with us. Definitely, like we said, let us know who won that debate. I think it was me, specifically because Ian Lloyd isn't here to defend himself.
He's not.
But yeah, we hope you all enjoyed that. We had a lot of fun making it. We just decided to go for it, and however long it was. So we had a lot of fun. But yeah, with that being said, we're gonna wrap things up here on the Film Reel. The season finale again, maybe for real.
It's been a ride.
It has been a wild ride. Kane, you and I started this show together back in 2019. Zero experience. We had no idea what we were doing.
No.
We walked into Kyle Peach's office and we said, we want to make a TV show.
Yeah, we did.
I was 18 years old. How old were you?
Like 21, 22-ish.
And so,
crazy.
Yeah, we were really, really young and we had no idea what we were doing, and he just let us go.
Absolutely.
And make this show. We this is our 78th. We made 78 of these, 5 seasons.
Wow.
This was our 5th year.
It's crazy.
And it has been an absolute blast. I mean, we've had so many fun moments on the show. Specifically, I kind of brought it up earlier on in the show, but man, that Sonic the Hedgehog moment where you just ripped into that Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
I did. I ripped into it hardcore.
It's got to be your greatest moment of the show.
Yeah, it has to be. I stand by that too.
Yeah,
so,
man. This guy does not like Sonic the Hedgehog.
All right?
But yeah, and then Ian Lloyd, his first episode with us. His first episode, we were reviewing Fast and Furious, and he came in wearing a Vin Diesel T-shirt tribute underneath his button-up.
Came prepared,
and he had no TV experience either. But he came in with the bits, he came in with the jokes. Nice. We played off of each other really well.
That's awesome.
It was great to have John Friedland on the show in season 3. Whenever you left,
absolutely,
originally. He was very fun to have on. I think we worked very well together too.
Absolutely.
Alec with his top 10s were fun to watch. It has been a really, really great time. But do you have any parting words for everybody?
I mean, it's been a ride. I mean, we set out on this journey to do this together, and it's been incredible. I mean, we got to talk about what we love, films and shows, TV, film and TV. It's been incredible. So Yeah, I mean, thanks for, co-hosting with me all these years.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted to make some sort of show relating to movies and stuff like that, and you and I were just talking about movies 24/7.
Yeah.
And
you asked me to do it. I was like,
yeah.
I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer. You were the easy choice.
Yeah.
To do this with me. So I really appreciate you sticking around for all this time too.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. It's been a ride.
It's been a fun ride, and like I said, we've talked about a little bit earlier in the show. I'm moving to Los Angeles, baby. And so that's a very, very exciting new story in my life. It has been an absolute pleasure to close the book, to end this story here. And I'm really, really excited to move on to the next one. I can't wait to see what I do, what you're gonna do in the future.
Yep.
And it's been such a fun ride. Thank you all so much for watching. I have loved making this show for you.
Absolutely.
And stay tuned. We're gonna be making some really cool stuff in the future. So. Once again, I appreciate you all for watching. That's a wrap on our incredible director, Eli Grimes. Thank you so much for hanging with us for the past 2 seasons. That's a wrap on Kane Jones. Thank you so much for doing the show with me. It's been an absolute honor. And that's a wrap on me. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care. Love you all.